The elderly woman smiled as her trusted doctor prepared the injection. She had no idea these would be her final moments, just another victim in Britain's most prolific serial killer's decades-long reign of terror. Harold Shipman adjusted his glasses with practiced precision, the same gentle gesture that had comforted thousands of patients in Hyde, Greater Manchester. Yet behind those ordinary spectacles lurked something far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. For 26 years, this respected general practitioner moved through his community like a phantom of death, transforming routine house calls into murder scenes, turning healing hands into instruments of calculated destruction. Born in 1946 in Nottingham, Shipman seemed destined for medical greatness from childhood, driven partly by watching his mother die of lung cancer when he was 17, an experience that both traumatized and disturbingly may have fascinated him with the power dynamics between life and death. He excelled academically, married his teenage sweetheart Primrose, and built what appeared to be an exemplary career in medicine. Yet something twisted festered beneath this respectable facade. His first position at Pontefract General Infirmary ended unremarkably, but his partnership at a medical practice in Tondemorden revealed the first cracks in his professional veneer when colleagues discovered he was forging prescriptions for pethidine, a powerful opioid he'd become addicted to, resulting in a conviction, fine, and temporary removal from the medical register in 1976. Most would consider this a career-ending scandal, but Shipman returned to practice in 1977, joining Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde before establishing his own practice in 1993, where he cultivated a reputation as a dedicated, old-fashioned doctor who made house calls and seemed genuinely devoted to his elderly patients. What nobody realized was that Shipman had developed a god complex of staggering proportions, viewing himself as the ultimate arbiter of life and death, selecting victims based on his own twisted criteria, often targeting elderly women living alone who trusted him implicitly and wouldn't question an unexpected visit or injection. His method was devastatingly simple yet horrifyingly effective. He would visit patients at their homes, often uninvited, claiming he needed to take blood samples or administer routine medications, then inject them with lethal doses of diamorphine, the medical name for heroin, watching as they slipped into unconsciousness and died within minutes. The beauty of his scheme, from his perverted perspective, was that elderly patients dying at home rarely triggered suspicion in a community where natural deaths were common, and as their doctor, he could simply sign their death certificates attributing their passing to old age or chronic conditions. Shipman grew increasingly bold, sometimes killing patients mere hours after they'd been seen by other medical professionals in perfect health, yet his position of authority and the inherent trust placed in physicians created a protective shield around his activities. He kept macabre records of his murders in his home computer, adjusting timestamps to create false medical histories that would justify unexpected deaths, demonstrating a chilling combination of meticulous planning and pathological arrogance. The pattern continued undetected through the 1980s and 1990s, with Shipman's death rate significantly higher than other local practitioners, but when concerns were raised in 1998, an initial police investigation found nothing suspicious, nearly allowing him to continue his killing spree indefinitely. His downfall began with Kathleen Grundy, a wealthy 81-year-old former mayoress who was found dead on June 24, 1998, just hours after Shipman had visited her home. Grundy's daughter, Angela Woodruff, herself a solicitor, became suspicious when a poorly written will surfaced, leaving her mother's £386,000 estate to Shipman, cutting out her family entirely. The document was so amateurishly forged, with obvious errors and typed on an old typewriter rather than professionally prepared, that Woodruff immediately recognized it as fraudulent. She pushed for a police investigation, and when Grundy's body was exhumed, toxicology tests revealed lethal levels of morphine in her system, levels so high they could only indicate deliberate poisoning, finally cracking open the case that would expose Britain's most prolific serial killer. Detective Superintendent Bernard Postles led the investigation that would uncover the horrifying scope of Shipman's crimes, discovering that his computer records had been systematically altered, with timestamps showing he'd created fake medical histories after patients died to justify his fraudulent death certificates. Police exhumed 15 more bodies from Shipman's patient list, finding morphine in the remains of 9 victims, though decomposition had destroyed evidence in the others, yet the pattern was unmistakable and damning. During interviews, Shipman maintained his innocence with stunning arrogance, showing no remorse and insisting he was being persecuted, displaying the same calm, authoritative demeanor that had fooled his community for decades. His trial at Preston Crown Court began in October 1999, with prosecutors presenting overwhelming evidence of 15 murders, though investigators suspected the true number exceeded 250 based on unusually high death rates among his patients, particularly elderly women living alone. The prosecution methodically demonstrated how Shipman had falsified medical records, forged the will, and lied repeatedly about his final visits to victims, while the morphine found in exhumed bodies provided irrefutable physical evidence of his murderous method. Shipman's defense crumbled under the weight of evidence, his own altered computer records betraying him through forensic analysis that proved he'd backdated entries after deaths occurred, desperately trying to create paper trails that would explain away the suspicious mortality rates in his practice. On January 31, 2000, after a 16-day deliberation, the jury convicted Shipman of 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery, and Judge Forbes sentenced him to 15 consecutive life sentences, declaring he'd betrayed the trust placed in him as a physician in the most devastating way imaginable. The judge's sentencing remarks captured the horror perfectly. Shipman had systematically abused his position, violated the doctor-patient relationship, and murdered vulnerable people who had turned to him for care and healing. Prison offered no redemption for Shipman, who remained defiant and refused to discuss his crimes with psychiatrists, psychologists, or investigators, taking whatever twisted satisfaction he derived from his murders to his grave. On January 13, 2004, one day before his 58th birthday, Shipman was found hanging in his cell at Wakefield Prison, having fashioned a noose from bedsheets, ending his own life just as he had ended so many others, though his suicide denied victims' families any chance of getting answers about why he committed these atrocities. The subsequent Shipman inquiry, chaired by Dame Janet Smith, examined thousands of deaths and concluded that Shipman had killed approximately 250 people over his career, making him one of history's most prolific serial killers, though the true number may never be known, since many victims were cremated, destroying potential evidence forever. The inquiry revealed systemic failures in medical oversight, death certification processes, and controlled drug monitoring that had allowed Shipman to operate undetected for decades, prompting major reforms in British healthcare regulation, including stricter requirements for death certificates and better tracking of prescription medications. Families of victims described their devastation at learning their loved ones' final moments were not peaceful natural deaths, but murders committed by the man they trusted most, their grief compounded by knowing Shipman died without ever explaining his motivations or showing genuine remorse. Psychiatrists have theorized that Shipman's crimes stemmed from a pathological need for control, possibly rooted in his mother's death and exacerbated by his God complex, finding perverse satisfaction in holding absolute power over life and death. Yet, without his cooperation, these remain educated guesses about the darkness that drove him. The Shipman case fundamentally altered how British society views medical professionals, shattering the assumption that doctors are inherently benevolent and introducing necessary skepticism into healthcare systems worldwide, while serving as a chilling reminder that evil can hide behind the most trusted and respected facades, waiting patiently for opportunities to strike.